McCain to life imprisonment in Western Cape. In Gauteng, a 32-year-old Diepsloot serial rapist was found guilty and sentenced to 16 life sentences plus 250 years in prison for robbing and raping 16 women. 32-year-old Ashamoyo stalked and attacked his victims, threatening them with firearms before raping them. His youngest victim was 13-year-old. 33-year-old pastor Hlomelo Jwili was also sentenced to life in August for the rape of 33-year-old congregant. It is clear the broader civil society, religious organizations, and various community structures must sharply address the causes and preventative measures of crime against women and children, doing that together with the law enforcement and the police. Such conversations, combined with awareness program and action by the SABC, are important to lead to the prevention of this deeply disturbing gender-based violence. As a ministry, we remain extremely concerned about rapes at educational premises. In the 3 months of reporting, 83 rapes occurred at the educational facilities, including basic education, schools, and tertiary institutions. One needs to take into cognizance that educational facilities refer to the scenes of the crime and should not be interpreted to imply that all perpetrators and all victims were pupils or students. Let's talk a little bit about this DNA. The South African Police Service continued to take big steps towards ending the DNA backlog at our forensic service laboratories. The prioritization project of court-ready cases where there are outstanding forensic reports continue to gain momentum. Teams from the SABC and the National Prosecuting Authority are working together with agility and have to date processed 17,410 court-ready gender-based violence and femicide cases. This is an increase of over 5,000 cases since the last crime statistics were released in August. The SABC continue to improve its DNA management at our forensic science laboratories. Big steps have been taken towards ending the DNA backlog. The DNA specimens at our laboratories, as they stand, are 111,174. That is what, as we stand in laboratories. Out of this figure, 67,905 is DNA backlog, which has been reduced from 2,041,167 in May 2021. The rest of DNA specimen from the total of 111,174 figure, 43,269 falls within the allocated time of 113 days. So out of this 111,174, 43,000 is not the backlog. It falls within its prescribed time to be finished, which is 113 days in laboratory. Assurance has been made to this ministry that the SABC will meet its deadline of clearing the DNA backlog. We have truly come a long way since the DNA backlog was first discovered at our forensic services laboratory in May 2021. Daily work and interventions continue to ensure the SABC never goes back to the dark days where the DNA backlog reached levels over 200,000 cases. All hands are on the deck to capacitate and empower the forensic service laboratories to deliver a quality service for all South Africans. The crime figures show that aggression and violence are at worrying levels in South Africa. Violence meted not only against women and children, but violence playing out in our homes, on our roads, and even inside public safe spaces such as churches and schools is staggering. The July to September months saw a record number of assault cases reported to the police in 5 years. The SABC across the country investigated a total of 85,640 assault GBV and common assault cases in the 3 months of reporting. Argument, road rage, provocation and misunderstanding, as well as retaliation, revenge and punishment remain the top motive for the GBH. 12,203 assault GBH cases took place behind closed doors, either at the home of the victim or the home of the perpetrator. The second most likely place of occurrence for assault GBH was at public places such as street, open field, recreational centers, or abandoned buildings. 6,662 assault GBH cases were domestic violence related. This means the perpetrator and victim had some type of domestic relations. 7,004 people were killed by other persons in South Africa in the second quarter of 2022-2023 financial year. This is an increase of 841 more people murdered compared to the same period in 2021, when the country was placed under COVID-19 lockdown for 3 and 2. Argument, misunderstanding, and incidents of road rage provocations accounted for 956 murders in the country. Vigilantism incidents claimed the lives of 528 people, while 362 people were killed during the commission of robbery. Inanda, Umla's police station in KwaZulu-Natal and Nyanga station in Western Cape registered the highest counts of murder during this period. A total of 274 counts of murder were reported in those 3 areas combined. Fighting crime has also come at a cost for the members of the South African Police Service across the country. 22 police officers were killed during July to September 2022. This is 2 members less compared to the same reporting period last year. It is on this note that the Ministry will never stop calling on SABC members to defend themselves decisively at all times from ruthless criminals whenever they are under attack. It is quite simple. Police must meet fire with fire. Firearms remain the weapon of choice in most of the reported murders. 2,808 people were shot and killed. 961 of the reported murders in KwaZulu-Natal were as a result of firearms, followed by Gauteng with 768 murders. 526 people died from gunshot wound in the Western Cape. The high murder figures can also be attributed to the multiple murders where 2 or more people were killed in one incident. The SABC is investigating 250 dockets of multiple murders within 558 victims. This includes the mass shooting at the Mdlalose Tavern in Soweto, where 17 people were killed in July in a single shooting incident. Police have since arrested 5 suspects for their role in this shooting. The KwaZulu-Natal province recorded the highest number of multiple murders, followed by Gauteng and the Western Cape. Equally, the police in the 3 provinces continue to make arrests. Police operational responses nationwide should continue to remove guns and guns that are in the wrong hands. Trio crimes increases have been noted in crimes under subcategory aggravated robbery. The month of July 2022 saw the majority of carjacking robbery at the residential and non-residential premises cases reported to the police. Commissioners and the management, more must be done to prevent and also respond to these crimes that are often carried out publicly in a violent manner. Over 6,000 carjacking were reported to the police from July to September 2022. While the Free State and Limpopo recorded decrease in carjacking, a 24% increase was observed nationally. A total of 356 vehicles were reported hijacked in Nyanga, Harare, and Philippi, East combined, all in the Western Cape. Kidnapping has doubled nationally, with over 4,000 counts reported to the police between July and September 2022. Carjacking, robbery, and rape were the top 3 motives for the recorded kidnapping cases during July to September across the country. Management Commissioner, the SABC, especially in the Western Cape, has had several breakthroughs in kidnapping cases where victims have been safely reunited with their families. However, the police will be neglecting the constitutional mandate of protecting the inhabitants of the country and their property if the service does not deal decisively with these most feared crimes. Specialized intervention in provinces right down to station level must be bolstered to deal with carjacking, kidnapping cases, and other crimes in the trio category. Policing intervention should continue to be prioritized in identified hotspot areas to squeeze the opportunity for the criminals not to be able to breathe. Over and above the limited policing resources and personnel shortages, the SABC has attended to 2,455 public protests from July to September 2022. These were both peaceful and violent demonstrations that mostly occurred in Gauteng with 563 protests, although 123 of them were regarded peaceful. While the overview of these crime statistics may be disheartening at a face value, they should not make us lose confidence in our endeavor to fight crime. The rule of law must stand firm in South Africa. The quarterly crime figures are a management tool to guide the SABC and streamline policing operations by shifting resources to where they are needed most. It is clear that the SABC will and must continue to sharpen its responses to crime, including arresting some members of the SABC who choose to work against the law. Organized crime is also being dealt a blow. We commend the ongoing arrest and take-down operations led by Interpol South Africa, where fugitives of justice continue to be traced and arrested. The latest arrest of wanted Israel gang leader and his 7 accomplices in Preston should serve as a stand to all that South Africa is not a hideout and playground for criminals. In closing, fellow citizens, the Police Ministry has learned with dismay of the vigilante acts allegedly by some Asheville resident who fatally assaulted and killed a man inside an ambulance. Such cowardice acts absolutely have no place in our society. We concede there is a room for improvement in the country's criminal justice, and we will continue to strengthen its functionality and improve working together as a cluster to ensure it remains trusted. We encourage communities to report crime and not take law in their own hands and allow the law to take its course. Equally, police are also directed to improve the quality of service they provide to communities. Lastly, as the country heads towards the festive season, criminals tend to be brazen as they try to undermine the rule of law. But this ministry is satisfied with the Provincial Safer Festive Season operational plans of the SABC to safeguard the festive season. The inclusion of 10,000 more boots to the service in December will intensify police visibility during the festive season and beyond. More boots will be on the ground, and escalated crime prevention and crime combating operations will be a daily occurrence until the end of January 2023. Nothing will replace fighting crime than warm bodies. Police have their work cut out for them. Communities, young and old, also have a role to play towards lowering the crime rate in the country. We encourage active participation against the common enemy of crime through formal involvement, such as communities, policing forum and other structures, or working together in improving policing footprint. Mphakathi, don't look away. Let us act against crime together. Iphoyisa iphoyisa ngumphakathi nomphakathi umphakathi nephoyisa. As such, I will invite the men who carry the raw figures on these matters. General Skokweni, come through, sir.
Good day, Minister of Police, DM, the National Commissioner of the South African Police Service, General Masemola, the Head of DPCI, General Lebeya, all protocol observed, members of the media, colleagues, all protocol observed. As the Minister has already indicated, I will be taking you through the Quarter 2 crime statistics that is covering the period from the 1st of July up to the 30th of September 2023. The presentation, as is indicated there, will cover some of the highlighted areas, starting with the overview of the crime statistics for this particular period. One needs to indicate and explain what are the headings that have been indicated up there. The Minister indicated that we are comparing a period where we were under lockdown level 4, 3, and 2, where the country was at different levels of restrictions, compared to a period where there are no restrictions at all. Then with that in mind, when we look at the figures that had been reported to the police, for contact crimes, we have a murder that has increased by 841 counts, resulting in a 13.6% increase. Sexual offenses increased by 1,319. Attempted murder increased by 998. Assault GBH increased by 5,626. Common assault increased by 7,252. Common robbery increased by 2,405. Robbery with aggravating circumstances increased by 6,992. Then overall, the total contact crimes increased by 25,373. We had in the previous quarter recorded 137,145 counts of contact crimes. Currently, we have recorded 162,518. Now, when we go down into breaking down the sexual offenses, which are made up of the rape, sexual assault, attempted sexual offenses, and contact sexual offenses, looking at the rape for the current particular quarter, we had recorded an increase of 1,034 rapes. That is from 9,556 currently. We have recorded 10,590, resulting in a percentage increase of 10.8. Carjacking, which are subcategories of robbery with aggravating circumstances, made up of carjacking, robbery with aggravating, robbery at residential premises, robbery at non-residential, cash in transit and bank robbery, also truck hijacking. We have recorded increases across all those subcategories that are making up robbery with aggravating circumstances, with carjacking having increased by 1,174. Then robbery at residential premises increased by 453. Robbery at non-residential premises, an increase of 427. We had 4 counts of cash in transit robberies from 52 to 56. Then bank robberies, we had 2 counts more. And then truck hijacking, we had 151 counts more. Now, taking into consideration the population and then computing what is called per capita crimes, that is only calculated for crimes against a person, and we use the mid-year population estimates. The 2021 series has been obtained from Stats SA. Now, looking at that, we see that currently, for the current quarter, we have 12 murders per 100,000, rapes is 17 per 100,000, attempted murder is 10 per 100,000. Assault GBH is 68 per 100,000. Common assault 73 per 100,000. Common robbery 20 per 100,000. Then looking at specifically the murders and going into the provincial breakdown, comparing each murders, the murders that had been reported in each province together with the population of that particular province, we see that the Eastern Cape had the highest per capita ratio for murders of 19.7 per 100,000. KwaZulu-Natal was the second highest with 16.0 per 100,000. Western Cape, 14.5 per 100,000. Gauteng was 9.8 per 100,000. And the Free State and the Northern Cape were jointly at 7.9 per 100,000. Mpumalanga, 7.0 per 100,000. Northwest, 6.3 per 100,000. And Limpopo, 4.5 per 100,000 murders. Then completing the table, we had a decrease in terms of contact-related crimes, specifically the crime of arson, a decrease of 17.7%, and the overall category of contact-related crimes increased by 4.9%. Then on property-related crimes, we had a decrease in terms of burglary at non-residential premises of 3,180, resulting in 16.9% decrease. Then for burglary at residential premises, we had an increase of 4,601. Theft of motor vehicle and motorcycle, an increase of 1,216. Theft out of or motor vehicle, we had an increase of 3,325, and stock theft, an increase of 679. Overall, total property-related crimes increased by 6,641. Then going on to the 17 community-reported crimes for the current quarter, we had an increase of 51,991 from 350,519 to 402,910, resulting in a percentage increase of 14.8. Then for crime detected as a result of police action where the desired level or direction of change should be on the up, meaning that it is a proxy variable for proactive policing. We had illegal possession of firearms. We had more cases of 692. Drug-related crimes, an increase of 8,732. Driving under the influence of alcohol and or drugs, an increase of 3,112. Sexual offenses detected as a result of police action, an increase of 632. Then overall, we had more crime that have been detected by the police. That is 13,168 more crimes that had been detected by the police. 17 community-reported crimes in a graphical presentation, taking into consideration the months that make up the quarter that we are reporting in. We have increases across mostly of the crimes in the month of July, whereby in the 17 community-reported crimes, we had an increase of 28,565. In July, an increase of 12,596. In September, an increase of 10,830, and we had recorded increases across all the provinces. Top 30 stations for the 17 community-reported crimes. I'll go only on to the 5. We had the highest station with the station with the highest number of reported 17 community-reported crimes was Cape Town Central, an increase of 1,273. Honeydew in Gauteng, an increase of 613. Durban Central at number 3, an increase of 260. Mitchell's Plain in the Western Cape, an increase of 307. And those make up your top 5 stations in terms of the 17 community-reported crimes. Then going into the details, we had the 17 community-reported crime now going into the contact crimes. Again, in the month of July, we had an increase of 17,339. In August, 4,054. In September, 3,980. And again, we had increases across all the 9 provinces. Top stations in terms of contact crimes, number 1 is Nyanga with 154 increase, Johannesburg Central 174 increase, Mfuleni at number 3 in the Western Cape with 192, Tembisa at number 4 with 190, Devon Central at number 5 with 344, making up the top 5 stations in terms of the combined contact crimes. Now, on this particular slide, we look at the causative factors that had been reported when the particular crimes had been committed. We will only focus on the causative factors for the crime of murder. We had drawn a sample of 6,342, and from that analysis of the 6,342 murders that had been reported, when we looked into what were the rationale or the reasons for that crime to have occurred, it was indicated that 956 of these were as a result of misunderstanding, arguments, and road rage. Vigilantism was the second highest contributor to murder with 528. Robbery was indicated as the cause in 362 of the murders. Retaliation or revenge was indicated in 348 of the murders. Gang-related was indicated in 202 of the murders, whereby the majority of those murders happened in the province of the Western Cape. During the commission of another crime, not robbery or rape, 77 incidents of the murders were indicated to have happened during the commission of other crimes. We also had 69 hijacking and attempts that resulted in murders. Taxi-related murders were 64. Law enforcement, security, and security guards in the line of duty were attributed to 24 of the murders. Intervention in an argument, 23. Rape-related, 21. Illicit mining, 17. Then, when we look at the place of occurrence, again, from the same sample size of 6,342. I will only again focus on the murders. What I need to clarify on these slides is that we are only looking at the place or the scene of crime where the crime has happened. We are not going into the details of who was involved and who was not involved, who was the victim or who was not the victim. For instance, if you look at agricultural land, farm, plot, and small holdings, we are only looking at the place where the crime has happened. We are not looking at the incident whereby it can be classified as a farm murder, because the definition of a farm murder necessitates that that particular crime should have an impact on the operation of that particular farm. Here, we also include cases where there was domestic violence, where people in a farm were drinking alcohol together and they ended up fighting and stabbing each other. And it should therefore not be confused with farm murders. This is just the place where the murder has happened. Again, to clarify further on educational institutions, we say there were 19 murders that happened at educational institutions. We indicate universities, school, colleges, daycare facilities, etc. We are not in any means implying that the victim and the perpetrators were school-going children. What we are saying is that somebody might have been coming from a shebeen in location X. As he was passing or walking by a school, he gets dragged from the street into the school and he gets murdered in there. So it does not mean that these are children. It might include children, but it is not exclusively only children. And when you also look at the days of the week on which some of these crimes happened, some of these crimes happened on Saturday, Sunday, etc., which are days whereby children are not normally in school. Now, I hope that clarifies the matter. Now, looking at the incidents whereby we had murders that had been reported in public places, From the same sample of 6,342, 3,039 of the murders were indicated to have taken place in public places. Then 1,645 was indicated to have taken place at the residence of the perpetrator or victim. Then we had 320 murders that had taken place in a mode of transport, either a bus, a car, or a taxi. There had been incidents whereby people were shot while they were sitting in a car. It might have been that it might have resulted in a carjacking or whatever the circumstances might have been. But for this particular purpose, we are looking only at the place where that particular crime has happened. Then we talked about educational institutions. We talked about there were also 3 murders that had happened at the prison or a holding cell. I guess the rest of the places where the murders have occurred can be extracted from that particular slide. Then looking at the crimes against women and children, whereby we separated the women on the left-hand side and we had the children on the other side. We had selected the crimes of murder, attempted murder, and assault GBH. And for the current quarter, we had 989 murders that had been committed against women. Attempted murders was 1,277, and assault GBH 13,701. This resulted in 92 more murders of women, 122 more attempted murders of women, and 1,877 more assault GBH against women. Then looking at the children between the ages of 0 and 17, combining both boys and girls, we had 28 more murders of children, from 287 to 315 in the current quarter. Then attempted murder, we had 11 more attempted murders of children, from 283 to 294. And then assault GBH of children, we had 225 counts more, from 1,670 to 1,895 in the current quarter. Then the total of the murders that had been reported. Again, this slide, if you look on all the crimes that we had presented, the month of July, across most of the crimes, was the month whereby we had most of the increases. Similarly, for murder, we had 659 murders more in the month of July. In the month of August, we had 72 murders more. In the month of September, we had 110 murders more. And these murders, the province that had recorded a decrease in terms of the murder was the province of the Free State, with 20 counts less. Top 30 stations for murder, they are led there at the first 2 from the province of KwaZulu-Natal, Inanda and Umlazi. Then number 3 and 4 are in the Western Cape, Nyanga and Delft. Then Plessis Liar in KwaZulu-Natal, making up the top 5 stations that had reported the highest volumes of murder in the current quarter. Then when we look at the provincial breakdown, we have already touched on this particular slide in terms of what were the causative factors. Now we look in terms of the provincial breakdown and see which of the provinces had recorded a particular phenomenon as the most frequently occurring causative factor for the murder. Looking at arguments, we had KZN having reported 298 murders attributed to arguments and misunderstanding. Then the second highest was the province of Western Cape with 176, Gauteng 141 at number 3, and the Eastern Cape at number 4 with 127 of the murders attributable to arguments and misunderstandings. Then gang-related murders, that is number 5 from the top. We indicated that we had 202 murders that had been attributed to gang-related, and of these 202, 175 was in the province of the Western Cape, and 15 was in the province of Gauteng, and also Eastern Cape, we had 9 murders. Taxi-related murders, we had reported 64. Then of these 64, 34 happened in the province of Gauteng. Then KZN and the Western Cape each had 14 counts of murder attributable to tax-related. Of course, we have had illicit mining, whereby 17 of the murders were attributable to illicit mining, and of these murders, 13 were reported to have taken place in the province of Gauteng, and then 4 in the province of Limpopo. Multiple murders, I don't think I'll need to spend more time on this particular slide. The minister indicated that the police are investigating 250 dockets that had resulted in 278 bodies. However, when you look at the multiple murders, ones that stand out in this particular quarter are the murders of the initially 16 people that were shot at the Mdlalose Tavern in Orlando. Then subsequently, one of the people that were shot subsequently succumbed to his injuries at the hospital, resulting in 17 murders that had been killed in one incident. Then we also had 2 instances in Marion Hill, whereby 7 people were killed in each of the incidents, whereby the first 7 were killed in a spaza shop, where initially 6 people died and the 7th one succumbed to the injuries in a hospital. Then we also had another 7 incident whereby we had 7 people gunned down inside a house. Then we also had an incident of farm murder whereby 7 people were murdered, and of those people that were murdered, 5 were farm workers and the wife of the farmer and also the stepson of the child. This farm murder happened during the commission of a house robbery. Then the preferred weapon of choice in the commission of the murders, it was indicated that firearms was the most frequently used weapon to commit the firearm. As it is indicated there, we have 2,808 bodies that were killed. That does not in any way imply that these people were each individually shot with one firearm. Multiple people might have been killed with one firearm. So there is no one-to-one correlation between the bodies and the firearms. All what it indicates is that 2,808 people were killed. Then I'll skip the murders on farms except to say that these are police murders. The minister indicated that we had 2 less police officers that were killed. Of this 22, 18 were killed while they were off duty and 4 were killed while they were on duty. Then farm murders, I'll skip this one and go to the rapes. We had an increase of rapes of 1,086 in the month of July, followed by decreases in the month of August and September of 12 and 40 respectively, and the province of Mpumalanga recorded a decrease in terms of the rapes. Then the top 30 stations in the rapes, they are led by Inanda, Mthatha, Delft, Lusikisiki, and Thohoyandou, making up the top 5 rape stations. Then looking at the places of occurrence, similar analogy to what we have explained in terms of the murder, it applies again here. We had most of the rapes from a sample of 8,227 having been indicated to have happened at the residence of the perpetrator, which was attributed to 5,083. We also had public places attributable to 1,651. We also had educational institutions where we had it's 83 rapes. Then we had rapes that had also happened in abandoned buildings, 69, of which most of those happened in the province of the Eastern Cape, 17, and then Gauteng with 15, and then Western Cape with 10. Then where it was indicated specifically that the victim or the perpetrator had used alcohol prior to the commission of the crimes, we had 1,520 rapes having been indicated to have involved the use of alcohol, and 154 rapes indicating that there was the use of drugs. Then 281 of the murders, alcohol was used, 21 drugs were used. Specific places where the murders had happened, 267 was indicated to have happened at a place where alcohol is being sold, that is either at a tavern, a shebeen, or public places, and 275 attempted murders happened at such facilities, 65 rapes at such facilities. Again, the weapon of choice that had been used to commit the murders in these facilities was firearms with 133. Then murders and rape at educational premises, we had indicated that 67 of the rapes, 83 of the rapes had happened at schools, that is covering primary, secondary, and high school, and I have indicated that this does not in any way imply that the victims nor the perpetrators were school-going children, as in some instances when you go into the details, you find that the people that were murdered or raped are above the age of school-going, that is 50s, 60s, etc., and some of these rapes and murders happened on days which schooling is not happening, that is on Saturdays and Sunday, and the rest of the breakdown in terms of where the rapes and the murders have happened can be extracted from the slide. Then domestic violence related, this is what we use as a proxy for gender-based violence, whereby we had instances of 239 murders whereby it was indicated that there was some kind of a domestic relationship between the victim and the perpetrator, be it husband, ex-husband, current boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, etc. And of these crimes, 130 victims were female and 109 were male. The rest can be seen from the slide. Okay, maybe let me talk about the rapes. We had 835 rapes that were attributable to domestic violence, and 793 of these victims were female. Then the trio crimes, again, the same pattern that we had seen across all the crimes, an increase in July, and all the provinces having recorded increases. Then the top station is Nyanga, Plessis, Lyre, Tembisa, Harare, and Oliver Noordbos, making up the top 5. Then carjacking, the same pattern that we had seen across all the other crimes, the month of July being the highest, 756. In August, we had 344 increase. And then in September, we had an increase of 71. And the provinces that recorded decreases was the province of the Free State and Limpopo of 3 and 21 respectively. Then in carjacking, we had the top 3 stations that are all in the Western Cape, with Nyanga at number 1, Harare at number 2, and Philippi East at number 3. Then number 4 and 5, we have stations in Gauteng, that is Pretoria West and Oliver Noordbos. Robbery at residential premises, the pattern repeats itself. The highest increase was in the month of July of 300, and the provinces that recorded decreases was the province of the Free State, the Northern Cape, and the Western Cape. The respective decreases was 27, 3, and 83 in the Western Cape. Then top stations, we have top 3 stations for robbery at residential premises led by Plessis, Lyre, Kwadukuza, and Umlazi, all the 3 stations in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. Then robbery at non-residential premises, again the highest increase was in the month of July. We had a decrease in the month of September of 50, and the province that recorded a decrease was in the Eastern Cape with 11 counts less compared to a similar period. Then in terms of the top 30 stations, they are led by Johannesburg Central in Gauteng, number 2 Thohoyandou in Limpopo, 3 East London, 4 Pietermaritzburg, and 5 Durban Central in KwaZulu-Natal, making up the top 5. Cash in transit robberies, we had a decrease in the month of July of 1, and September, again we had a decrease of 6. However, we had an increase of 11 in the month of August. Then the types of CIT, we had 8 incidents in the Eastern Cape where the armored vehicle was on the road, 7 in Gauteng where the armored vehicle was on the road, and we also had 8 incidents where there was cross pavement in the province of Gauteng, and 5 where there was cross pavements in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. Truck hijacking, the pattern is the same. The only province that recorded a decrease was the province of Free State. Then the top station is Mpumalanga at number 1 with Dalmas. Then from number 2 up to number 12, the stations are all in the province of Gauteng. Then kidnapping, similar pattern. We had increases in the month of July, August, and September of 801, 661, 566 respectively for the month of July, August, and September, and all the provinces recorded increases in terms of the kidnapping. Then from the top 30 stations, we had the top 3 stations in kidnapping are all in the province of Gauteng, that is Vosloorus, Durban Central, and Tembisa in Gauteng. Number 4 is Delmas, then again number 5, Midrand in Gauteng, making up the top 5. Then from a sample of 3,648, we looked into the circumstances around when the kidnapping happened, and most of the circumstances were attributable to hijacking related. That will be an incident whereby when a vehicle is being hijacked, the driver is also taken along and then maybe dumped somewhere at a later stage. Then we had 1,639 robbery related, and we also had 331 rape related kidnappings. Then we had 235 taxi related kidnappings. Then property related crimes, which is the sum total of the 5 crimes that we had indicated at the beginning of the slides. Again, we had increases in the month of July, August, and September, and the only province that had recorded a decrease was the province of KwaZulu-Natal, with 2,344 counts less in terms of property related. Then the top stations in property related, they are led by Cape Town Central, Rustenburg number 2, Honeydew Park Road, and Stellenbosch making the top 5.